All right, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're unpacking an absolutely wild, centuries spanning story of legacy, insane wealth, and high stakes corporate drama. And it's all swirling around this massive 11,000-acre estate tucked away in the Allegheny Mountains of West Virginia. Now, this isn't just any hotel, this is the Greenbrier, known to many as America's resort. But beneath those pristine white columns and perfectly manicured lawns, there is a deep, hidden history of cutthroat billionaires, secret government bunkers, and fierce, ongoing legal battles. To really wrap our heads around the chaos happening there right now, we gotta look back at the bizarre and honestly completely frantic bankruptcy battle of 2009. So, imagine this. Marriott International thought they had this resort entirely in the bag. I mean, they had literally signed a purchase agreement. But then, entirely out of left field, local billionaire Jim Justice swooped in and bought the holding company's stock directly. When reporters asked who actually owned the hotel, Marriott's spokesman angrily snapped, "You better ask the judge." Meanwhile, Justice was just sitting there confidently declaring, "The deal is done." It was basically a corporate heist that snatched the resort right out from under a global hospitality giant's nose. Here is our roadmap for today. We'll be covering the battle for America's resort, springs, bunkers, and presidents, designing a national icon, the local economic engine, and finally, the hostile takeover allegations. Let's get right to it. Part 1, the battle for America's resort. So by 2009, this crown jewel was just bleeding money. We're talking losing $90 million over a 5-year stretch. Marriott thought they had a solid $130 million deal locked up in bankruptcy court to take it off the longtime owner's hands. But remember Jim Justice? He swooped in and paid just $20.1 million for the holding company stock, plus a $2.6 million breakup fee to Marriott. In one fell swoop, he ended a century of railroad corporate ownership, totally upended Marriott's contract, and took control of a national historic landmark. And for a billionaire, he got it for what basically amounted to pennies on the dollar. Part 2, Springs, Bunkers, and Presidents. Now, to understand exactly why billionaires will fight tooth and nail over this property, we have to look at its incredible strategic value over time. It started way back in 1778 simply as a sulfur spring where people would go to heal their rheumatism. But look at how this builds. By 1862, it was a Civil War hospital, literally changing hands back and forth between Confederate and Union forces. Fast forward to 1942, the U.S. government uses it to intern Axis diplomats and then converts it into a massive 24,000-patient World War II military hospital. And then 1958 rolls around, and it takes on its most secretive role yet. Okay, you absolutely have to hear about this part. Under the top-secret codename Project Greek Island, President Eisenhower directed the construction of a massive, I'm talking 112,000-square-foot, underground complex right beneath the resort. It was fully equipped with its own power plant, a medical clinic, dormitories, and even separate chambers for the House and Senate. It was stocked and ready to keep all 535 members of Congress, plus their staff, alive for up to 60 days during a nuclear holocaust. Just let that sink in. And the wildest thing? They kept this incredibly quiet. A covert team of government employees actually posed as audiovisual technicians and hotel maintenance workers just to keep the bunker in a constant state of readiness. For decades. It wasn't until a 1992 investigative report by the Washington Post that the secret was finally blown, which forced the government to immediately decommission the whole facility. Section 3. Designing a national icon. Now, if you walk the halls of the Greenbrier today, you definitely don't feel like you're in a grim military bunker. Actually, it feels more like a Technicolor dream. After World War II, they brought in legendary interior designer Dorothy Draper to completely transform that austere military hospital back into a luxurious wonderland. She used highly saturated hues, really bold visual contrasts, and these huge, oversized floral patterns. She absolutely rejected anything drab or practical. By creating spaces like the world-famous Victorian writing room, she gave the resort a visual identity that was just 100% its own. But beyond the crazy decor, the estate is basically a living museum packed with historic artifacts. Take the upper lobby, for instance. There's a life-sized copy of Gilbert Stuart's famous portrait of George Washington, painted by his daughter, Jane Stuart. But get this, in her version, Washington is holding a scroll that prominently reads, "Beware of foreign influence." It's a fascinating little historical quirk, right? But it also provides a pretty stark, almost ironic contrast to the cutthroat, outside corporate maneuvering we are about to re-enter. Section 4. The Local Economic Engine. Because, look, while the history and the art are super fascinating, we've got to look at the hard numbers to see why this battle matters so much today. The Greenbrier isn't just a fancy hotel for the wealthy, it is the absolute lifeblood of the regional economy in West Virginia. This 1998 Economic Impact Report from West Virginia University perfectly frames the real human costs behind these billionaire battles. When giant corporations or private equity firms are fighting over this property, they aren't just fighting over real estate, they are fighting over the livelihoods of thousands of local families. Just look at these numbers. They are staggering. In one single year, the resort was responsible for generating 2,702 jobs, over $190 million in total economic output, and more than $79 million in employee compensation. That translates to over $11 million in state taxes for West Virginia. It's not just a business, it's a massive economic pillar. And, to combat off-season slumps during those quiet winter months, the later introduction of a casino was projected to add nearly 360 more jobs, another $34 million in output, and almost $5 million more in state taxes. The financial stakes of keeping this resort open and thriving, they are simply monumental for the surrounding community. Chapter 5: The Hostile Takeover Allegations. All right, let's fast forward back to the present day and objectively break down this massive 2026 legal battle that's currently unfolding over this property. It's basically a heavyweight fight. On the right side, you have TRT Holdings. They own the Omni Hotel chain. They legally purchased nearly $300 million of the resort's primary debt and then moved to place the property under federal control, which is known as a receivership. But on the left side, you have the Justice family fighting back, strongly alleging this was a deceptive, multi-year scheme to sabotage their refinancing efforts. They're claiming TRT used confidential information, stuff gained during previous negotiations, to orchestrate a hostile takeover of a competitor. According to the court filings down in Greenbrier County, the stakes are sky high. The justices claim that TRT actually intends to take over the Greenbrier and run it using employees from their rival resort, the Omni Homestead, which is just 40 miles away in Virginia. Obviously, that puts hundreds of West Virginian jobs at immediate risk. So in response to the debt purchase, the justices are fighting back hard. They're seeking a legal rescission of the loan sale and, get this, they are demanding a staggering $500 million in damages for fraud and antitrust violations. So when you pull it all together, the deep foundational American history, the massive economic footprint that sustains an entire region, and these cutthroat corporate maneuvers playing out right now in the courts, we're left with one huge question. What is the ultimate fate of this incredible estate? When the dust finally settles in the courtroom, who is actually going to control America's resort? And more importantly, what will happen to the thousands of people who rely on it every single day? Think about that as you process everything we've uncovered today. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer.